on camera?
Basically, I just watch to see if the picture goes black.
Yeah, pretty much.
All
So
right.
she's doing your job, Chelsea. She's doing your job.
I'm closer.
Are you-
Okay, guys, today we're going to talk about numbers. And we're going to go way in depth about how to deal with numbers. We kind of touched upon it a little bit, and they send they have a video tutorial that's a lot more in depth, and it's how to fine tune your user settings and dictionary for more optimum number translation. So we're gonna watch the video, and then I'll try to explain stuff, you know, as we kind of go along. Okay?
I'll be eating somebody's fingers by that time.
Welcome to this ePower video tutorial on Eclipse automatic number conversion. This is Keith Vincent, and it's my belief that seeing is understanding. I hope that these presentations will help you to understand Eclipse automatic number conversion so that you can take advantage of this remarkable feature of the program. This tutorial is an outgrowth of both my efficient editing tutorial and the ePower workshops that I have been presenting with Will Wilcox. So I'd like to thank Will Wilcox for his contributions to this tutorial, and I hope that it will help you to truly enjoy Total Eclipse. Before we begin discussing how to set up Eclipse automatic number conversion, let's see the program in action. But we'll slow down the process so we can see how Eclipse number conversion works. And keep in mind that unlike some CAD systems, Eclipse number conversion works the same way in both real-time and non-real-time translation. So this is truly reporter-compatible software. Whether you're a real-time reporter or not, and whatever your writing theory, Eclipse lets you write numbers as you hear them spoken and applies your number transcription rules precisely. He drove about 3 miles about 3 days ago at approximately 3 p.m. to buy wood for a 3-foot fence for his 3 dogs. Notice that the same stenostroke was used each time I said 3. 3 is defined in my steno dictionary, but it's in there all by itself. It's not globaled with the word miles, or with PM, or even foot. However, miles and foot are units of measure that imply a specific number conversion. PM implies a time conversion. Let's continue. You may, one day in May, say that by May 1, you will find 111 things for $28,125.75. Here again, 1 was written the same way each time it was said. And it's in the dictionary as a word, not a digit. May is in my dictionary as a conflict between the verb may and the month name May. As for this dollar amount, that is not in my dictionary. It was understood from a combination of number bar strokes and word strokes, and even the word and, which was written when it was heard.
Okay, we talked about this last week, and the way that you define numbers is just in words. That's it. That's the only way that you define numbers is in words, and that the software knows what to do with it after, you know, because of whether it be in dollars or cents or months or stuff like that. So It already knows what to do.
With Eclipse, words like million and miles and pounds are understood to imply specific number conversion.
And you see how they spelled it out. You know, they don't put the, you know, for million it's, you know, blank 0000000, okay? You don't have to do any of that. You just spell it out.
This next example shows 7, 9, and 10-digit numbers to imply other conversion. 5, 2, 3, 6, 3, 4 9's my telephone number. Note that 7, 1, 3, 5, 2, 3, 6, 3, 4, 0 is the fax number. 4, 3, 8, 9, 2, 3, 0, 0, 1. That's my social security number. In this example, Eclipse understood that 7 and 10-digit numbers in the United States are for telephone, and 9-digit numbers are usually social security. These are defaults for reporters in the USA. But if you work somewhere else, you can change these defaults to something that's useful for you. Your dictionary can also include number conversion triggers that override these defaults. Here are a few examples. That's what we saw in volume 38. Base number 5236349. So my dictionary entry for the word volume is a conflict, and if it sees that a number follows volume, it not only chooses the capitalized form of the word, but it converts that number into a Roman numeral. Likewise, my dictionary entry for Bates number.
Do y'all understand that?
Yeah, I've never heard of a Bates number though.
I'm not really sure what that is either. But let me back it. I don't know if I can back it up.
But we'll change volume to Roman numerals, because that's what it's supposed to be in.
If that's the way you set it up.
You said volume.
If you set it up this way, with the capital R right here is Roman numeral. So you can put it in there. Capital M is money. You know, and the different ones I can't remember all of them. But it's the bracket. Pound sign means that there's gonna be a number there. That it's gonna be followed with a number, and then what to do with it after that. So the numbers, and I gave you all that little chart of what the different letters mean,
Quantity,
whether it be money,
ordinal,
quantity, ordinal.
phone, generic,
T is
time,
time.
Yeah, time conversion.
date.
Yeah. But if you'll notice, you can set it up this way, like in the Social Security, but the Automagic is going to know what you're trying to do because, you know, it has 9 numbers. And 9 numbers is usually a Social Security. So it may just write it 438923001, and it's all together. And don't freak out, because over here in your Automagic, it's going to say, do you want this in a number? Do you want this in money? Do you want this in Social Security? Do you want it in time? Was it different times that you wanted? Was it a date? You know, when you put too many letters in there. So it's going to kind of know, you know, what you're doing or whatever, and it's going to give you different suggestions.
And if it sees that a number follows volume, it not only chooses the capitalized form of the word, but it converts that number into a Roman numeral. Likewise, my dictionary entry for Bates number is a conflict, and if it sees that a number follows, it makes sure that that number is a generic number, pure digit, and it chooses the proper form to modify that number. Thus, it won't be mistaken for a telephone number or Social Security or other format. Eclipse supports a long list of units of measure and international currency. Let's see a few of these in action.
Not sure what happened to the volume.
I get the gist of it.
It's because you said pounds in written. Changed it to pounds.
So now it'd be euros,
Hmm?
right? It'd be euros now.
Yeah.
Euros. Complete.
So that's how you do it. If you want to change it to money from, different nations.
Because they said the word pound there, it brought it
Pounds,
in that way. Yeah.
euro,
Okay, okay.
I don't know what else.
Yen, lira.
If Eclipse only supported one style of number writing, it wouldn't be very useful. So let me give you an example of 4 very different steno styles so that you can see that this is truly reporter-compatible software. 11 million 104,031 dollars and 4 cents. So this reporter used a combination of number bar entries and word entries and wrote 100 when that's how it was spoken. I've defined this as a conflict in the dictionary, and wrote the word and whenever it was heard. Since the reporter writes and as a part of a number, the box next to process and as a number is checked. Since the reporter writes a mixture of word numbers and number bar entries, we have not checked ignore written numbers. I'll explain that more in detail later. And we've set that the system should write out the numbers between 1 and 10, but 11 and above will be in digits. This next example reflects my own number writing style, which has been optimized to take advantage of Eclipse. 11,104,031 dollars 4 cents. For numbers between 1 and 10, I use word strokes defined as written out numbers because I want the number written out. Otherwise, I use number bar entries. If I tuck an E into a steno stroke, it's because that number is to be doubled, so 1E would be 11, or reversed. I don't have the box checked next to process and as an...
Do you understand what he was doing there?
Yeah, because I've heard of it.
If you don't, it's no big deal. I mean, that's just the way that he writes, so it's not that big of a deal. I mean, if you want to do it, great. If you don't, it's not that big of a deal. But he does 1E to mean 11 and 13 or any other set of numbers together is reversed. Okay? But if you don't write that way, then don't worry about it.
number, because I don't write the word and when it's spoken as part of a number. But I do have ignore written numbers checked because I will use a word number when I want one. So I don't want the system to write out any values for me. I will use word strokes when they are appropriate. This third example is that of a reporter who's done a fair amount of work on computer-compatible theory. So for instance, this reporter writes million with the stroke ML. But when million is said in the middle of a number, the reporter uses MLG and had that defined as a comma surrounded by delete strokes. Although it would be possible to use these entries with Eclipse, it's also possible to simply define these as the words million, billion, and thousand. So here's our same number.
Do you understand what it's saying there? You don't have to do that. You don't. All you have to do is, when they say million, billion, all you do is define it as M-I-L-L-I-O-N and B-I-L-L-I-O-N. That's all you need to do. When it comes with numbers, it already knows what to do.
11,104,031.04. So this reporter could continue to use the strokes that are habitual, million with the G, or thousand with the G. They would just be defined differently in Eclipse to take maximum advantage of the automatic number conversion. As for the user settings, they'll probably be the same as the second example that I gave you. Our last example is that of a reporter who has been doing the computer's work. So this reporter would write the dollar stroke before the number, and it was defined as the dollar symbol with a delete space symbol. For the internal commas, the reporter had it defined as delete space, comma, delete space. And the same thing for the decimal point stroke. It was defined as a period surrounded by delete space symbols. In fact, these same definitions would work for Eclipse. So this reporter could write according to habit. $11,104,031.04. So whether your number writing style makes...
So do you understand what they were doing there?
That was an old school way of doing it.
Yeah, way old school way of doing it. But if you want to do it that way, you can, and it'll come out the same. So it just seems like it's more work to me, but you can do it however you want.
No effort to be computer compatible, is optimized for Eclipse, or follows a computer compatible theory, or perhaps does the work that the computer could really do for you, Eclipse is flexible enough for you to make use of its automatic number conversion.
Any questions there?
If you've been to a real-time workshop that was designed for other CAT systems, you may have noticed that when it comes to writing numbers, the presumption was that you would have to change your writing style. With Eclipse, the presumption is that you probably won't need to change your writing style. However, you will want to adjust your CAT system to get the best number translation. So good number conversion with Eclipse depends on two things. First, fine-tuning your user setup. By this, I mean going to the Numbers section of your user settings and indicating how you write numbers and how you want them transcribed. Fortunately, this is one of those set it and forget it dialogues. You won't have to return to this section of your user settings very often, if at all. Secondly, you'll want to fine-tune your dictionary. You'll want to remove old counterproductive entries, and there are search filters that help you do this without much trouble. You'll also want to add or modify entries so that these can serve as building blocks for good automatic number conversion. Let me show you. This will help you to see why you'll want to remove old dictionary entries like $25,000 in order to obtain good automatic number conversion with Total Eclipse. I'll write a large number that contains $25,000. 7,025,000 and 6 cents. You may have noticed that when I wrote 7 trillion, it displayed in red because the number conversion was pending. As soon as I wrote $25,000, the number conversion ended and this figure translated. The number conversion began again when I wrote 6 and ended when I wrote the period. Now let me delete this entry and use the same steno to write this number one more time. It's in the color of pending translation display until I write my period. And now this large number translates perfectly. In fact, Eclipse does not need a large number of dictionary entries to serve as building blocks for good number translation. Your dictionary should contain entries for hundred, thousand, million, billion, and trillion. And each of these should be defined as words, not zeros with commas. Likewise, you'll have entries for dollars and cents, and each of these will be defined as words, not symbols. And the same would apply to any other currencies for the country in which you happen to be working. There's no need for multi-stroke entries for things like $100, as long as you have building block entries for $100 and the like. However, if you have a one-stroke steno method for writing $100, then that should be in your dictionary, defined in words, rather than a dollar symbol with zeros.
You understand what it's saying there, right? You don't have to do any of that other stuff. All you have to do is just define it. But, you know, if you have it defined like this with the DZ, as long as you have hun, and then dollars, it doesn't really matter. You go through and you individually define each one. But if you use it like this in a one stroke, then you have to define it as that. Okay? That makes sense? You don't have to put, you know, the zeros, commas, any of that stuff. All you have to do is define it like that. It knows what to do with the numbers when it's written with a number.
You would do the same thing for other one-stroke methods of writing things like $1,000, $1 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion. What about written numbers? You probably use word strokes for numbers like 1 through 10. And if you don't use the number bar at all, then you will create 99 entries defined as 1 through 99, each one defined as words, not digits.
You understand what it's saying there? Okay. When you're going to go through, if you write out all of your numbers, you write them all out, stroke them out. That's the way you need to do it. You're going to have to do 99 entries for your numbers. So if you don't use the number bar, you're going to have to create 99 entries defined as 1 through 99. Okay?
I use number bar.
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't?
Really?
And it's not really that big of a deal, because you'll only have to do it once, you know. But I mean, you'll have to do it. So I mean, that's just kind of the way it is.
Then you will create 99 entries defined as 1 through 99, each one defined as words, not digits. Your dictionary does not need to contain entries for things that you write with the number bar and no extra letters. You could delete such things, but they're harmless. However, if you use the number bar along with an extra letter for things like 1E to mean 11 or 12E meaning 21, then entries like these do need to be defined in your dictionary.
You see what it's saying there? If you do it that way, then you have to use the numbers. So if you use it as 1E, 2E, you know, like that to mean 11, 22, you know, whatever, then you have to use it that way. You have to define it with the numbers. But if not, then, you know, you don't have to worry about it. I don't know very many people that do.
Yeah, it seems like a whole nother thought process to
Yeah.
have to think about, oh, I want to flip them.
You know, and that
So
you
I
want to
have to
flip them
use
if you use 21 to mean 12. Why not just stroke 12?
I
12E.
guess,
It's so you don't have to do the 21.
I do it that way, but I don't use the E to flip my numbers.
What do you use?
I use the asterisk. So like the asterisk flips my numbers. The A is 0 and the E is 5. So I do
Oh,
1,
that's
2, 3,
nice.
4. Number bar E is 5. And then number bar A is 0. And then
Well, number bar A is 5.
Whichever one. Either one is 0, one is 5. Like
And
that.
number bar O is 0.
They're both
Okay.
on this tab.
Yeah, and if you do it that way, I
Yeah.
mean, that's fine. I'm just telling you, if you're not used to using the number bar, that's what they are.
Yeah.
So A is 5, and
It's just so you
O
don't have to do
is 0.
98.
Yeah.
Just so you don't have to go 97, 98. You would do 79, flip it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what.
And to me, I don't know. I learned it differently. I've been doing it so long that it's just easier for me just to do 79, 97,
97.
whatever, you know, rather than have to learn a new
Just
way of doing
learned that.
it. But if it comes to you easily and you don't have to think about it, it's like, man, that's a great idea. I'm going to start doing that. Practice it. You think you want to learn it, practice it, then it's good. But you're going to have to define it as this. Now, you know, that it's reversed and with the numbers.
meaning 21. Then entries like these do need to be defined in your dictionary. With these building blocks in place, you would actually remove items like $100, $1,000, because as we saw earlier in the example of $25,000,
Do y'all understand what it's saying there?
Yeah.
If you have it defined, you can go through your dictionary and do numbers. And if you go through, there's a special little entry you can do there that shows you how to just pick all of your strokes for numbers. So every number you have, whether it be, you know, a number on the number bar or whether it be a stroked out number, you can go in there and find it. And if it has anything to do with numbers like this, and it's defined $100, and it's like that, then you need to delete it out of your dictionary, because then it's going to conflict with what you're trying to do. Does that make sense? Because what you need to do is go through and define 100 and define dollars, and that's it. If one isn't already defined as O-N-E, then you need to define that as O-N-E, not as the number 1. Okay?
these entries are not helpful. It's because they don't describe a number. Instead, they're just characters that are only useful if you're writing one specific number, and thus they do not function as building blocks to help Eclipse understand a great variety of other numbers that you might be trying to write. Remove these old entries because building block entries such as the ones we've described here are much more versatile and much more powerful.
Any questions about that?
How did you get all the numbers so that you could go through them? How did you get all them together?
Go into your dictionary, which is F9, and then go in, and it kind of, let me see if I can